Best British record producer 1988. Stock, Aitken and Waterman.
Mike Stock, Matt Aitken and Pete Waterman were at least partly responsible for hits last year from Sunita, Rick Astley, Bananarama, Mel and Kim, Samantha Fox, and of course, Ferry Aid.
Well, we'd just like to say thanks to all the teams, because that's what being a producer is all about, the artists, the management and everybody. Thanks for everything. Thanks a lot.
Give you an idea of the enormity of their achievement. Between July and September of 1987, they were responsible for 10% of the singles that were being sold during that period, and that amounted to 1.5 million records.
Welcome to part 3 of what feels like the never-ending ascent of Stock, Aitken and Waterman.
Will the bubble ever burst?
Will the bubble ever burst? Well, do you know what? It's not going to burst in this episode. It's just going to
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Thank you for joining me again, Matthew Crosby.
Thanks for having me back.
How are you feeling about Stock, Aitken and Waterman?
Do you know what? I really admire their gumption.
Great gumption.
They've got gumption to burn.
Gumption were one of their bands that didn't quite make it.
Yeah. It was Gumption and the Reynolds Girls.
Yeah. I'm going to start not by talking about Stock, Aitken and Waterman. Let me take you back to October the 27th, 1986.
Let us never forget this fundamental truth. The state has no source of money other than the money people earn themselves. If the state wishes to spend more, it can do so only by borrowing your savings or by taxing you more. And it's no good thinking that someone else will pay. That someone else is you.
Which was the day two things happened. It was the day of the deregulation of the financial markets, which was known as the Big Bang, implemented by Margaret Thatcher's government. That was, Britain heading in an even more Thatcherite direction. And it was the day of the first episode of Neighbours on UK television as well.
Wow.
Neighbours, everybody needs good neighbours.
The day the world changed.
What would you say has had more of a sort of seismic effect on sort of culture generally, or the world generally?
I'd say the financial markets.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I would
Probably
say,
right.
yeah. But I'd say it's less interesting.
I don't want to talk about that.
I've got no interest.
I do
to
want
be
to
quite
talk about
frank, I
Neighbours.
don't really understand it. So Neighbours arrives in the UK. It's an Australian soap that is on Australian television, and then the BBC buys the rights to it. We were always a few years behind. We'll kind of come to our experience of Neighbours, but you watched it as a child, presumably.
Yeah. When you're saying a few years, were we 6 months out or a year out?
I felt like we were maybe catching up. There was always rumours
They
we were
took a big
catching up.
holiday and we never did. Is
Yeah,
that right?
we used to take 2 weeks off for Wimbledon, I think.
Right, okay.
Throughout childhood, I watched Neighbours, and you watched Neighbours,
Yes.
I think. Yes, there was rumours that stuff would happen in Australia ahead of time.
Yeah.
Often the actors would come across, and they'd presumably been written out by this stage.
They'd come over to do panto.
Yeah, they'd come over to do panto. Neighbours wasn't instantly popular in the UK at all. The reason, maybe, UK's soap opera kind of landscape at the time was Coronation Street, and then EastEnders had started a couple of years earlier. EastEnders was on BBC One, and it was the biggest, most popular, but it was bleak.
The UK likes its soaps to be a bit gritty. I
Gritty,
think. Gritty,
incredibly
bleak.
working class.
Yes.
Pete Waterman's childhood.
The concrete factory.
The concrete
The grave
factory.
digging.
Exactly.
That's what we look for in our soap operas.
Yeah.
Whereas Neighbours, it's sunny. Neighbours and Home and Away.
That's how they were sold to teenagers. To give you an idea of EastEnders, you had Nick Cotton's heroin addiction. Dirty Den had an affair with schoolgirl Michelle Fowler. Of course, she released an ill-fated single with Stock, Aitken and Waterman. We all remember that. Arthur Fowler stole the Christmas Club money and had a breakdown. I don't know if you've seen that Arthur Fowler smashing up his sitting room clip.
Yeah.
But it looks like a Ken Loach movie.
It's really bleak. It's really kitchen sink. Well, it's living rooms. There's no sink.
Yeah.
But my wife said that one of the best things for her about going to university was not just furthering her education, but it was the fact that she didn't have to watch EastEnders with her family. It was like a family thing. She realised, I don't have to be stressed all the time.
Yeah.
Worrying about what's going to happen to a family who don't exist.
I don't have to see who's going to be killed on Christmas Day.
What, like, plane is going to land on the pub or whatever. It's awful.
Let's talk about the opposite kind of storylines in Neighbours. If I give you a character, if you give me their defining storyline, so
Bouncer's Dream.
Bouncer's Dream, which was a dog who had a dream about marrying another dog.
Getting married.
A dream sequence about marrying another dog. Even when they died, Julie Martin, do you remember how she died? She died at a murder mystery weekend.
That's right, she did. Weirdly, I've got a very strong memory of her cremation, her ashes being scattered in the forest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember that we all watched that in school.
There was, of course, a terrible misstep, which we should mention.
We should talk, again, from the Martin family.
So their neighbours moved in and they were the Lim family.
Yep.
They were of East Asian descent.
I believe so.
And Holly the dog went missing.
And you can fill in the blanks.
Well...
Oh, can you?
No. Just to be clear, they hadn't done this.
Yeah.
You can fill in the blanks because Julie Martin accused them of cooking and eating Holly the dog.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't all good.
It was a rare moment of casual racism from Australia.
Exactly.
It was a tiny blot on an otherwise spotless landscape.
Exactly. But it was generally incredible fun. It was teenagers. It was cricket in the street. It was light-hearted.
That's how it started. That was the opening sequence with the old theme tune.
Yeah.
A slightly more bouncy version of the theme tune.
Yeah.
Was them all playing cricket in the street.
Bouncy's Dream. Yeah. Initially, you might not know this, it wasn't a success in the UK.
Now, I remember watching the first episode.
What time did you watch it? This is the Mandela effect.
Now, I want to say I watched it in the middle of the day, but it can't be the case.
That is true. Well, unless you were off school.
What was it, 86? Because I would have started
1986.
I would have started
October
school
1986. So Michael Grade, head of the BBC at the time, scheduled it for 9:25 a.m. after breakfast TV and 1:35 p.m. after the lunchtime news. He says, his words, nothing much happened. It didn't fly. Sure. No one was interested. His daughter comes home from school one day. She says, I got in trouble at school today. And he says, what for? And she says, we all got caught. We should have been in the playground, but we were watching television. His interest in television is his job. He says, what were you watching? She said, we were all watching Neighbours in the common room.
And a light bulb went on.
And the next day I went into the office and I said, we're moving Neighbours to 5:35 p.m. so the kids can watch it when they come home from school. And his words, classic words, particularly in the podcast world, and the rest is history, as they say.
That's amazing.
Isn't that
Because
mad?
it was
his daughter
it
getting
was the end
in
of
trouble
the
at school.
broom cupboard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The broom cupboard finished, straight into Neighbours.
Straight into Neighbours. And if Michael Grade's daughter hadn't got into it, it would have never moved to that time.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? So by then, Neighbours is being watched by 16 million Brits, which is more than the entire population of Australia at the time.
That's huge numbers. That's like Morecambe and Wise Christmas special numbers.
George Harrison once asked Ian Smith, who played Harold Bishop, for an autograph. This is how much it's...
Harold Bishop did say he was bigger than Jesus, didn't he?
He did say...
But he just meant in waist size.
Yeah, that's why he couldn't do the Smethwick Baths.
They wouldn't employ him.
They wouldn't employ him at Smethwick Baths. Princess Diana was a fan. Legend has it she once asked the BBC for videotapes of 2 episodes she had missed.
You know what? That's the reason to marry into royalty, isn't it? For that level of perk.
Do you know, after she split from Charles in the early 90s, she had to then be very careful about watching Neighbours because she knew she couldn't get the videotapes anymore.
She had to get a very, very expensive VCR and learn how to program it.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, you're missing it.
The classic, though, fact was that it became so popular with British teenagers that there became a public kind of health scare, which was that teenagers started talking with an Australian accent, where you would go up at the end of a sentence.
Like everything's a question.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this now with my kids. I don't know, do your kids watch a lot of...
American stuff?
Yeah, American stuff on YouTube. And so they'll use phrases like garbage truck. They watch Blippi singing a song about it.
Yeah.
I've got no problem with it.
No, I don't have an issue with it. But at the time, maybe Britain was more inward looking.
Yes, I think that's probably true.
Not inward looking enough that it didn't stop its peak at November 1988, which is, 2 years after it had been first screened, almost to the day. 19.6 million viewers tuned in for the biggest ever episode, which I'm sure you'll be able to tell me what it was.
It's got to be Scott and Charlene's wedding.
Scott and Charlene's wedding. So the schoolboy next door, Scott, and the tomboyish car mechanic, Charlene Mitchell. Just another great Neighbour storyline is when Helen Daniels dies. Helen Daniels is the matriarch of the street. And she's Scott's gran or mum or whatever, I don't know.
She must be gran, right?
She dies watching a home video of Scott and Charlene's wedding. But obviously, they haven't got a home video. So
she's watching the episode.
They cut to like a beautifully shot wedding on her
with
TV.
the song, with the Angry Anderson song playing over the top of it.
But Charlene Mitchell is played by
Kylie Minogue.
And so she is the next key character in the Stock Aitken and Waterman story. And maybe the biggest character in the Stock Aitken, apart from Pete himself.
But
probably higher than Mike and Matt.
Yeah, sadly. I don't think Mike and Matt are even making the top 5.
Do you think Rick Astley is more?
I think Rick Astley's bumping them. I reckon if you showed a picture of Rick Astley...
Yeah, of course.
Genuinely, I think I knew Mike Stark. I didn't know it was Matt Aitken.
And I wouldn't be able to pick either of them out of a lineup now.
Couldn't tell you now, yeah.
Towards the end of 1987, so this is before the wedding, she has her first meeting with Stock Aitken and Waterman, and it is a absolute shambles.
Oh, no.
So
because they thought she was a mechanic. They brought her in and said, listen, that weird rattling noise, can you do anything about that? It's my silver Jaguar as well. I want to drive around Warrington later on.
Pete said that Matt and Mike would write her a track, right? But he forgets to tell Matt and Mike.
Oh.
So Kylie comes over to London. She spends 10 days waiting to record this. Doesn't hear anything. Right? So on the day she's due to fly back to Australia, her and her manager turn up at the Stock Aitken and Waterman studios demanding to see someone. And Mike knew nothing about her until that point. Mike calls Pete, who's not there, to ask what's going on. Pete admits he forgot to tell them about Kylie Minogue, even though she's been in London.
So had they paid for her to fly over?
I don't know. Maybe
Surely
she's flown herself. I don't know. Maybe Pete...
This feels like a big oversight on Pete.
I know, yeah. Mike feels so bad for Kylie. He says, I'm going to write your track here and now.
And she said, you should be so lucky. No, it wasn't. No, come on, it's not as neat as that, is it?
Well, it depends who you believe. Mike claims he couldn't understand why she wanted help, as she seemed to have everything in her life. People want to be as lucky as her, but maybe the thing she doesn't have is love. So I wrote, I should be so lucky. However, Pete claims when
Pete comes along and says, I said this thing.
Yes. However, Pete claims when Mike rang him saying that she needed a record made for that day, Pete replied, she should be so lucky. To which Mike said, that'll do.
So it could easily have been, sorry, who's this is a bit of a bad line.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Over the next 30 minutes, according to Pete and Mike are faxing lyrics back and forth to each other.
Faxing? Wait, over how much time?
30 minutes.
No. We've seen a fax machine from the 80s. 30 minutes won't send you even one line.
No. The track was written and recorded in 40 minutes. She was done by 2:15 and on her flight at 4 p.m. Different days in terms of airport security.
She wouldn't be taking her shoes and belt off, no.
Exactly.
All of that, it was a different time. Obviously now...
They wouldn't have time to write the song because of Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, exactly. The terrorists would have won.
The terrorists have won.
How long do you get to an airport ahead of time normally? I've got to be 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, yeah.
It's got to be.
Kylie, presumably, we don't know who's paying for it. Maybe she's going first class. I doubt she has the money at that point.
Neighbours must have been... It was just a soap, wasn't it?
Mike finishes the track, puts it away. He only remembers about it when her Australian label, Mushroom Records, get in touch.
No one can remember Kylie.
She
must. I would feel so affronted if I was Kylie.
Do you know what? I can't remember, because I read a thing where he said she just didn't look like a star. She had like her hair back and just like...
Not glasses.
Glasses. Which
and then she unpinned her hair, took off her glasses, shook out her hair.
But that happens on Neighbours.
Yeah, I know.
I know. It's mad.
It's the
just
cliche.
If you don't know, on Neighbours there's a character called Plain Jane who takes off her glasses.
Plain Jane Superbrain, yeah.
Plain Jane Superbrain. And she has a restart where she takes off her glasses and everyone fancies her. Like kind of Clark Kent and Superman.
Would you like to try that now? You're wearing glasses. See if I fall in love with you. No, in fact, don't, because I'm a married man. I can't handle it. If you take off your glasses and shake out your hair and I end up calling Charlie and saying I'm leaving you, it'll be too much. So leave those glasses on.
I will leave them on. So you're thinking, what happens now? How does the track become a hit? Let me take you to the Stock Aitken and Waterman Christmas party at the Natural History Museum.
Ooh, nice place for a party.
Who's DJing? It's Lenny Henry. He plays the song. And Pete says, what is this?
How has Henry got his hands on a copy?
I don't know how Lenny Henry's ended up with a copy of it. He's told it's Kylie, and Pete says, this is a smash hit at last.
All of the top DJs are playing it. Smith and Jones, Lenny Henry, Ben Elton's spinning it on the decks, Rowan Atkinson's giving it a whirl, Pamela Stevenson. They're all playing it.
Yeah.
So at this point, Pete Waterman, the only hand he's had in it is the title. Or
If you believe him.
If you even believe that bit of the detail.
No, to be fair to him, he has been the person who's booked Kylie.
He booked her once, then forgot about her first
but
6
to
months.
be fair, he has at one point just booked her and forgotten about her.
Sure.
So then they go around to all the major labels. Because at this point, a Stock Aitken and Waterman song, that's not a label.
No, they just
They just make records and then different labels put them out.
Pronto's no longer a thing.
Yeah. No one is interested.
Wow. And even though she's a TV star,
Yeah.
people love her from the TV, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No one's interested in releasing a song of her.
And so Lenny Henry sets up no. So Pete Waterman creates a record label.
Right.
Called Pete Waterman Limited.
The other guys must have been livid.
PWL.
Why not Saw?
I don't know. I don't quite understand this, and
I know Saw is the production line, but why not Saw Records?
I don't know. And so he sets up Pete Waterman Limited in 1987, which I don't know what the chronology of that is with the Christmas party. Maybe it was early December.
Maybe they had it in November to keep the costs down.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get Lenny
Natural
Henry.
History Museum.
Well, they're both, really. If you want the Venn diagram of Lenny Henry and the big dinosaur.
It's no way for her to Pete Waterman. I know he's got some views on a women's prerogative, but I think that feels unfair. He was of his time. So they released I Should Be So Lucky in February 1988. This feels very soon after Lenny Henry's played it, but there we go. Although supposedly Mandy Smith's I Just Can't Wait was the first track on the label.
They brushed that one under the carpet slightly, yeah. This was the first hit.
Well, it went into the charts at number 78.
Oh.
So they only press a few copies. Then demand surges, and they end up having orders for 800,000 in the UK alone.
By this point, Lenny Henry's he's out of the picture.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just going around. It's not just good word of mouth.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Those are the ones to watch in next week's chart. Back to this week's chart now, and the highest new entry. She's here in the top of the pop studio. Kylie Minogue!
Tops the charts, UK, Australia, Germany, Ireland and Switzerland. It is a huge, huge hit. So people start saying, what's the second single? And you're not going to believe this. Kylie's management say she wasn't happy with the treatment of Stock Aitken and Waterman. Where do they get off?
What a diva.
I know.
Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being flown to a different continent when
Forgotten about
for 10 days and then being forced at near gunpoint to record a song you've never heard before and then getting on a plane and flying back. What's wrong with
forgetting
you?
the song.
And then forgetting the song even existed, putting it in a drawer and forgetting about it.
So
She want
Mike
blood?
Stock goes to her house in Melbourne to apologise because he knows now he's onto a good thing, I
Yeah,
suppose.
of course.
Yeah.
Is he the one who's not a people person?
No, that's Matt.
They're not
Aitken.
sending Aitken up.
No.
If they want to make good with Kylie, they've got
Well,
to send...
you should really send Pete.
Maybe Pete's negotiating the Horniman
I
Museum for next
suppose
Christmas
Pete
party.
Pete's not the face of that bad day.
That's true, yeah. You've got to have somebody there because what you don't want is Pete coming over and going, sorry about my two mates, because then they're always still going to be
Yeah,
the people who got it
exactly.
wrong. Yeah. He messed up. He wants to make
Yeah.
good for it.
So Kylie's
Respect
album
that.
is finished on Easter Sunday, 88. So it's pretty soon after, while her mum waits for her in reception.
Is she really young? Is she like...
No.
No, she's in her
Coming over to the
20s. But
States,
she's...
coming over to the UK.
Want
Mum's
to bring
come.
your mum, yeah.
She does crochet between the takes.
Her mum or the...
Kylie.
Really?
It's a nice little detail, isn't it?
It's a nice little detail.
Yeah.
Do they tell you what she's crocheting? Are we talking a little tea cozy?
No, we don't know. We
never know. We never know.
No. In Christmas 1998, so this is a year on from Lenny Henry dropping the tune, Tilly Rutherford, who works at PWL or Stock Aitken Waterman, it's all getting a bit foggy for me at this point, they wanted to push her album sales. And so they noticed, and this is just mad of the time, that there's adverts for things like holidays and DIY at Christmas, but there's no adverts really for music. And because back then advert slots were cheaper than every other time of year, they decide, why don't we just do an advert for Kylie's album? And by January, the sales have gone from 250,000 to 2.7 million.
That's mad. I'd never sort of considered.
This is from Pete's book, by the way. So
take it with a grain of salt.
That's what it's called, isn't it?
That's the second. I wish I was me and I wish I'd eaten more salt.
Yeah. I don't know why it wouldn't have sold loads anyway, because Kylie's such a big artist.
Yeah. But I guess, that's the job of advertising. Yeah. Stick it literally in front of people's noses and say, look, here's this thing.
Only the internet doesn't exist.
Internet doesn't exist.
Singles are a thing, but maybe albums aren't.
There's no social media, so artists aren't promoting themselves in the same way.
She can't mention it on Neighbours.
She can't hold up a copy.
The frustration of having 12 million people watch you each day, but not be able to mention your product.
She's a mechanic. She has the radio on all day, but they can't play I Should Be So Lucky.
No. So demand for albums and records gets so high at this point. She's so popular. Stock Aitken and Waterman's printers are preparing sleeves for Kylie albums before the albums are written. And so Mike writes that the guys in the plant a couple of times just invented song titles, and then Stock Aitken and Waterman had to write the songs.
Do those guys get a credit as well?
Well,
the same way that Pete Waterman wants to?
Yeah.
Because apparently, if you've got two guys who are making the entire song, one guy's just going, I'm going to say something on the phone if you want to use it as a title or not, then surely these guys who are actually inventing song titles should get a little cut of that.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I don't know. But that's mad, isn't it? Brilliant.
So are we to imagine that one of them said, let's do a French number. Let's do Je ne sais pas pourquoi. Let's make Mike and Matt really work for it.
So in the 2 years she works with Stock Aitken and Waterman, she has 15 top 10 hits.
Wow.
4 number ones. He says he made Kylie a millionaire in 12 months. He said, it wasn't the first or last time I've done that for someone. In fact, in terms of success, I'm second only to the National Lottery.
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Jason Donovan plays Kylie's love interest in Neighbours, Scott and Charlene. So they think, let's sign Jason Donovan. Let's do something with Jason Donovan next. So they bring Jason over. They have to kind of give him a style up.
Because he's got the famous mullet, hasn't he?
Well, I think that's what he moves to.
Oh, really?
He's got a ponytail.
Oh, he's got a ponytail, and they go, look, there's this new modern haircut that's just coming in.
They've cut off the ponytail.
That feels very kind of like yuppie, doesn't it? The yuppie ponytail.
Yeah.
But they've got rid of that.
Donovan's not loving it. He says, I always knew what clothes I wanted to wear, how I wanted to present myself. But when I cut my hair, things suddenly got really good and really exciting. I think
like an
Donovan's
inverse Samson.
Accepting it, yeah. But he's not totally comfortable. Do you know what his big single was?
Too Many Broken Hearts.
Yes.
Yes.
Got a feeling things are going to start getting a little bit noisy now. This guy's going to be popping up all over today's show, but what a year he's had. In March, he celebrated his first solo #1 with Too Many Broken Hearts. Merry Christmas, Jason Donovan.
They wrote that song. Jason comes in February the 10th. They record it. They shoot the video. The song is #1 March the 10th.
Wow.
They are quick.
His head must have been spinning. That's so fast.
I know, it's mad.
From not being a pop star.
Thank God he didn't have a ponytail.
Exactly, he would give himself whiplash.
Who do you think claims to have written Too Many Broken Hearts?
Well, it's got to be Pete Waterman, hasn't it? Pete Waterman must have... Did he call one of them up on the phone and say, I tell you what, there's a lot of people out there buying our records, there's just too many broken hearts? Or is it something like that?
Right.
It's going to be...
You're not far.
Yeah.
Pete claims... Mike is not happy because Pete claims to have written Too Many Broken Hearts in 10 minutes while on the toilet. Mike explains he only came up with the title. Of course he did.
Have you heard the toilet flushing mix as well? That's the that was the one that everyone loved.
Do you want to know what the title Pete came up with according to Mike Stock?
I'd give it 15 minutes.
So Mike says he only came up with the title. There are too many people wandering around with broken hearts.
It's just too long.
It's too long.
It's just too lengthy.
So this is where Mike, just to be clear, says Pete thought coming up with the title is the same as writing the song. That is a quote. That's not just from us. That's from Mike's talk.
Sure. I would say, anecdotally, I agree with him.
Yeah. But I'd say good on him.
Yeah.
Jason's on a TV show called The Heroes, which I don't know.
Don't remember The Heroes.
Which is on the Wednesday night before the track's release. And Jason says, Pete asks him, did you die in the episode? And Jason says, yes, he did. And Pete says, thank God for that. We'll sell double the records for Saturday. He knows what he's doing.
Well, this is it, because a lot of artists achieve great posthumous success. But if
Yeah.
you could have your actor die multiple times in multiple different TV shows,
Exactly.
you know, the problem with Jimi Hendrix dying at 27 was no more Jimi Hendrix
Exactly.
records. He got to have his cake and eat it too.
Although Jimi Hendrix didn't kick back against his producers in the way that Jason Donovan will soon.
No, that's true. Jimi Hendrix, he was a company man through and through, wasn't he?
Well, Jason says, I'll never forget when Pete heard the record. He said one word. What do you think it was?
Hit.
Ka-ching.
Ka-ching.
Of course it was.
Ka-ching.
Of course it was. Right. You've done Kylie. You've done Jason. What's the next thing you should do?
Are they going to mine the rest of the cast of Neighbours? They got the twins, didn't they?
They do Kylie and Jason together.
Especially for you, of course
Especially
they
for
do.
you.
We got a treat for you now. On top of the pops, Kylie and Jason, especially for you.
Especially for you, I wanna let you know what I was going through. All the time we were apart, I thought of you. You were in my heart, my love never changed. I still feel the same. Especially for you.
So they're asked to write a song to tie in with the neighbour's wedding. Incredibly, they're sceptical about this idea, which, considering the success they've had, feels mad.
Seems like a cash-in.
Then their business manager, the Pete Waterman Limited business manager, David Howes, gets a call from Woolworths asking for 400,000 copies of it.
Wow.
So they go, all right, we'll do it.
I'm gonna say it's all because of you, and now we're right together. Together, I wanna show you my heart is so true, and all the love I have is especially for you.
Because Pete Waterman describes himself as having Woolworth's ears. Have you ever heard this? Yeah. He described himself as the man with Woolworth's ears.
Because he knows what will sell in Woolworths.
No, because they were shaped like those little shrimp you get in pockets.
Hey!
No, yeah, exactly. He knew exactly what people in Woolworths would want to buy.
Well, in this occasion, Woolworths had Woolworths ears and Pete didn't.
You'd hope they would.
Yeah. The title comes up when Tilly Rutherford, we've mentioned her already, who works there. Someone asks, what do they write on Christmas cards? Because it's a Christmas duet. And Tilly Rutherford says, especially for you. And especially for you is born. Tops the charts in January 1989, having only got to number 2 due to Cliff Richard's Mistletoe and Wine.
A banger.
The Milkman would have signed that off with absolute. You got no worries there, Cliff. That will come back because their inability to get the Christmas number 1 there does drive them in a later date. The video sees Jason picking up Kylie. There's a kind of iconic spin, and they've never sung it together live until 2012.
Is that true?
I'd have loved to have seen that. I don't know why they never did it on Top of the Pops. They must just... Because it was a very iconic video, but maybe they couldn't do it. I suppose because they're in Australia.
They're in
they can't-
Australia, yeah. Unless you're counting... Does miming not count? Did they mime along to it?
No,
on
I don't.
Top
I
of the
think
Pops
they've never sung it live until
Wow.
then. So by the late 80s, Jason Donovan sold 3 million records in the UK. His debut album sold 1.5 million, which are good numbers.
Yeah.
And we're living in a post-Rick Astley, Kylie world, so we're not as impressed by that numbers. But
It's still
it's
doing,
still very good.
gangbusters, yeah.
Mike, though, says Jason's career then goes awry because of his mates down the pub. Mike, to be clear, often discusses mates down the pub leading his acts astray.
Sort of dripping a little poison in your ear.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
they
it is,
mock
yeah.
him for being a pop star. Mike says their influence was incredulous to us because none of these so-called mates were ever successful.
Also, if you're down the pub with Jason Donovan, just think who's buying every other round.
You're turning up with 3 pints, splitting it between
Exactly. And then you've got Jason Donovan. Now he's shorn of his ponytail.
Well, you say he's shorn of his ponytail, Matthew.
No, he didn't try and grow it back, did he?
Well, his first career mistake, this was a big one. He sues The Face magazine, which is a trendy kind of 80s magazine. I don't know if it still exists, for calling him gay. Now, he's not homosexual.
Yep.
But the fact he's done that goes down very badly with some people. A lot of his fans consider him to be homophobic for suing them. He wins.
Yeah.
He gets 200,000. He returns most of that money, but that's a big career damage to Jason Donovan.
I remember this story, but I hadn't sort of thought of the origins of it. What? Because they didn't do like exposés on people. It wasn't like the news of the world.
No.
So what did they do? They just describe him as gay pop star Jason Donovan or something?
I genuinely...
No, that's interesting.
You know what? On our bonus episodes, we'll go more into that. Okay. It's not a funny story because it's quite bleak.
No, it's a bleak story, yeah.
But it is interesting. So Jason then takes some time off. Then his next mistake, he started listening to his mates at the pub. Early 1991, he goes to Australia. He has some time off. He says he's overexposed. He then turns up at the Stock Aitken and Waterman offices with a beard and long hair.
Oh, no.
And announces that he's really into the Happy Mondays.
Oh, dear, listen. As someone with a beard and long hair who enjoys the Happy Mondays, that is not a road that's paved with riches. I can tell you now, Jason, take it from me.
And he says, I'm going to tour with my own band performing alternative music.
Oh, no. This is like when Take That grew dreadlocks and started doing Smells Like Teen Spirit at their concerts.
It's just not...
It's just stay in your lane. There's nothing wrong with staying in your lane.
All right, Pete.
Listen, I spent so much time around the Stock Aitken Waterman guys now. I really...
Yeah, I know. I've been... I like... Suddenly, as a man who doesn't like their music and would consider myself a fan of tedious alternative music, I've now been indoctrinated to the point where I can't believe anyone wouldn't join Stock Aitken and Waterman and just sing their songs.
But as a fan of alternative music, you also know that it's very hard to switch it up.
It's very hard.
It's very hard to switch it up.
So that's early 1991. By May, Jason's management have contacted Pete to say that Jason's taken a part in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Now, that for me was a great success story for him.
Well, no, they asked Stock Aitken and Waterman to help them out, I think, with some songs for it. So they don't help him out with this because
a musical that already exists. And perhaps he wanted to release a version of one of those songs, but then surely that would go out through...
I don't know, maybe it's the
really useful company.
Maybe it's the arrangement. So Pete relates a trip with Jason to Andrew Lloyd Webber's house, which I would say is insane. So the house is located in Watership Down, which is the...
Didn't know it was a real place?
Yeah, it's where the book is based on. Pete says it looks like Versailles. He's got a lot of money.
Sure.
Andrew Lloyd Webber, when they turn up, is overrunning on an interview with a US TV show, so Pete and Jason have to wait. Jason has water. Pete has 11 gin and tonics.
They only had to wait 15 minutes.
So then Andrew's wife, Madeline, comes down and they have more drinks by the fire. And then Andrew arrives and says, should we drive to the local pub? Right? So Madeline and Andrew bring their Jack Russell along and they're trying to teach this Jack Russell to catch rabbits. So every 50 yards, they're stopping and letting the dog out to practice catching rabbits.
Oh, no. I feel queasy just hearing this story.
Pete says it's useless at it. On the way back, Pete is getting frustrated with the stop-start of the car.
As you would, really, yeah.
So he says, I need a wee. He gets out. Whilst doing so, he says, he wrings the neck of 2 rabbits and puts them in the dog's mouth. So it would return to Andrew and Madeline with the goods. Pete said he couldn't believe Andrew's delight. When they get back to the house, Andrew asks his chef to cook a rabbit fricassee.
And he said, if you can get another dog, I've got another trick I can show you.
The next day, Pete goes to a meeting about railways at a friend's house.
Of course.
With a stinking hangover, and a wallaby bounces into the room.
He wrings his neck, gives it to the chef.
That his friend has there to scare guests with hangovers.
This story doesn't...
It's an incredible story.
That is
related in
narrator.
That's related in I Wish I Was Me, just to be clear.
Of course, yeah.
It's not in Andrew Lloyd Webber's memoirs, as far as I'm aware.
Barely made a dent on Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah. So I suppose you didn't know the detail about the 11 gin and tonics or the detail about the ringing of the
necks.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's anecdote is, I came down, Pete Waterman was a bit all over the shop. We went to the pub and on the way home my dog caught a rabbit and we had rabbit fricassee.
The wringing the neck of 2 rabbits is the mad thing.
Needless.
I would say, yeah, once you've killed 1 rabbit, you've made your point.
How's he caught a rabbit?
How do you catch a rabbit when you're hammered?
Absolutely hammered.
I imagine having that amount of booze in your system probably makes the murdering of an animal easier.
Yeah.
But how are you catching it? Disguise yourself as a carrot?
It's a good story.
It's a great story.
Pete's become a big celeb by now.
Yeah,
he's almost outgrown his artist in terms of fame. He gets his own TV show, which is called The Hitman and Her. So there's 1987, Pete is DJing on Radio City in Liverpool, which is, I don't know if he needs to do local radio at the peak of Stock Aitken and Waterman. When Rick Astley's same years that he's selling 12 million albums.
He's making millionaires of literally everybody he meets. You know, you've got to have a plan B.
Yeah.
You've got to have a bit of local radio to fall back on.
He was under the name The Hitman, and he was quite an anarchic show. He'd do stuff like play the only copy of the new Kylie track and then give out Radio 1's phone number and ask listeners to phone them and ask them why they weren't playing it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So in 1989, he comes in from a club night, rings the neck of a rabbit, it might be the same night, and he finds there's politics on TV. And he's like, this is absurd. So he contacts David Lindemann, head of Granada TV, and suggests a TV show that's carrying on the club at home. He calls it The Hitman and Her, and Michaela Strachan is the co-host.
She's her.
She's her.
Just a reminder, those clocks have gone back an hour, so an extra hour of nightclub tonight. The time, if you want to put those clocks right, is 11 minutes, just after 11 minutes to 2 o'clock. First of all, from Manchester, it's Pete Waterman and Michaela Strachan, The Hitman and Her.
It runs for 6 or 7 years. It's a big kind of after-pub hit.
Yeah, it's an underground hit, isn't it?
Yeah, he believes that the late-night TV that follows it, i.e. The Word, etc., is ripping him off. He says TFI Friday was a posh perfectionist version of what he did.
I think if I was him, you'd like to think, I mean, he paved the way for that kind of telly. You don't have to be too bitter about it, do you?
No, exactly. Do you know who was a big fan of the show?
Who was a big fan of the show?
Princess Diana.
Of course, Princess
Diana. Her viewing
Of course,
habits.
she was up at 2 a.m.
Oh, well, she'd come down in the night to feed her children and watch it.
Oh, yeah, of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
Pete, do you know how he got through it? Do you want to play your cocaine card? It isn't cocaine.
Okay, so they were filming it at 2 a.m. then?
11 p.m. or whatever, I don't know.
Was it a live show?
I don't know, but I'll tell you that this is a separate anecdote.
He got through it.
With 11 gin and tonics.
That's his secret formula.
It's very weird to tell 2 anecdotes that both involve you drinking 11 gin and tonics. Sometimes used to take me 11 gin and tonics to get through the show. Still got through it.
You'd be better off not drinking 11 gin and tonics. I think if you're struggling to get through a show and you've had 8 gin and tonics, I think another 3 is going to sort you out.
But it was a kind of respected show. The Prodigy, Snap and Take That did their first ever TV appearances on it.
Wow.
And Matt Aitken said, terrible, bloody awful programme, awful idea.
Jealous.
Jealous.
Jealous much. Because you're not the personality.
It's the classic problem. So you've got a lot of the classic problems here. You've got the pop stars that don't want to be managed silently. And then you've got the manager who gets too big for his boots.
Who is in himself a brand and wants to sell the brand of him.
And then you've got the songwriters that initially don't want to be appearing, but then get quite angry towards the people that are in front of. It's all the absolute tropes of the problems that can go wrong in the music industry.
If you're doing all of the work as well, those 2 guys are, it sounds like, doing everything, right?
Yeah.
They're playing all the instruments, they're writing all the songs. Pete comes in occasionally with a title, but not always. Yeah. The pop star is given a line reading of literally every line. They're the ones doing all the work. I'm sure they were remunerated really well, but they're not getting the... You can understand why that's...
Isn't it?
that green-eyed monster starts to grow.
It's like you on Uncloaked, isn't it?
Very much so. That's why I have to put it out on my social media. That's why I did like 4 separate Instagram posts about it.
They then get, because Stock Aitken and Waterman's such a big thing, there's a Band-Aid 2 that comes along. So Band-Aid's been a big hit, Christmas 1985. Christmas 1989, Geldof decides, I haven't solved
World
famine.
hunger, yeah.
So I'm going to do Band-Aid 2. And fearing criticism if he just does it again, he brings in Stock Aitken and Waterman.
Yeah.
They're keen to get involved. Obviously, they want to help. And also, remember, they missed out on Christmas #1 last year. And the year before, Rick Astley was beaten by the Pet Shop Boys. So they still haven't had a Christmas #1 despite all their success.
Right.
Pete gets a call from Bob Geldof, 1st of December. 2 days later, it's been recorded. 5th of December, it's played out on Capital Radio.
That's the way they work.
Then they forget about it. Then Lenny Henry plays at the Christmas party. It's not a great lineup. It's Kylie and Jason.
Chris
involved? Rea, Cliff Richard, Bananarama, Big Fun, Sonia and Bros. Luke Goss records the drums 3 times and none of the takes are used.
Oh no.
Poor old Luke. Poor old Luke.
You ain't done it. You done your part. So I haven't. We'll be part of the audience.
It's Christmas time. There's no need to be afraid. That's my part.
Track goes to #1, but is kind of forgotten. And the press release in 2024 about Band-Aid, because you remember they did a restyling of Band-Aid.
Yeah.
It's been deleted from history.
So it goes straight from the first one to the one with Dizzy Rascal on?
I suppose it does. And Mike Stock takes to Twitter, formerly known as X formerly known as Twitter, should I say?
Yeah.
Says, the thing is, Sir Bob, while you were outside being feted, lauded and fawned over by the press and TV media, I was one inside putting the whole thing together.
That's
not dissimilar from
his entire story, isn't it?
It was a Sunday. Coincidentally, it was my birthday.
Oh, no.
You can imagine my surprise to learn that all the effort involved in bringing Band-Aid 2 to attention of the world is now being dismissed and reduced to the level of unofficial, a mere footnote in the history of Band-Aid.
I do feel sorry for him, but I feel like...
Can't complain you were recording Band-Aid on your birthday.
No.
That is the definitive first world problem.
Yeah.
In terms of...
You're not an 8-year-old, right?
No. Most grown-ups work on their birthday.
Yeah. It's my birthday tomorrow. I'm working tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
What birthday was it as well? Is it a biggie? Because I don't think you can even mention it's your birthday if it's not one of the biggies.
Let me go back and check when Mike Stock was born.
Let's work it out.
Mike Stock was born December 1951. It was his 48th birthday.
I don't think that's big enough.
I don't think it's big enough.
I don't think it's big enough.
But in a way, that represents that now Stock Aitken and Waterman are the record industry. They're huge.
Yeah.
So this is their absolute peak, 1989. Some stats. 27% of the whole UK record market is Stock Aitken and Waterman songs. Wow. That's over a quarter of records sold in the UK are Stock Aitken and Waterman records. Written by the same 2 blokes.
I can't work out then if he has a right to be aggrieved or absolutely no. I literally can't decide. If you're dominating it to that level,
yeah,
be happy with that.
24 singles and 3 albums in that year. The #1 independent publishing company in Britain and the #2 corporate publishing company, second only to EMI. This is a quote from Pete Waterman, to be clear. Only beaten by 2% of the share of the market. EMI, to quote Pete, had 16,000 writers. I think that's probably an exaggeration.
No, that's too many.
That's too many. By 1990, there had been a record produced by Pete in the top 100 every single week from March 1986 to October 1990. It's a mad, unprecedented run of success. Possibly precedented by the Beatles. Well, 87, 88, 89, they won the Ivor Novello Award for Songwriter of the Year. Mike Stock points out Lennon and McCartney only won it twice. And Stock Aitken and Waterman are the only composer to win it 3 times in a row. Pete also claimed that in 1989 they won so many awards in different categories they couldn't carry them all home. For For Songwriter of the Year, the Academy announced that because of our total domination that year, they hadn't even asked members to vote. And as special recognition for our contribution, they'd given the award to us. Mike Stock points out that in the third year, the award was joint with George Michael to avoid, in his words, it becoming too political.
I think that's fair. And also, George Michael was absolutely massive.
Yeah. To quote Mike again from his book, it was an astonishing fact that we were having more hits than the Beatles in their heyday and more number ones. Nobody would say we were bigger than the Beatles, but we certainly had more hits.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because the Beatles were still always releasing songs of the Beatles. But it was a spread bet for Stock Aitken and Waterman.
But there was still just two blokes.
Yeah, you're right. It was
and
two.
Who's bringing more, Harrison or Waterman? I'd say Harrison. So in a way, the Beatles had more.
Yeah, that's true. They had 3 songwriters.
Well, this is the peak. And I'd say you can feel in the last year or so the needle beginning between the 3, Stock Aitken and Waterman's. And sadly, within a few years, it will end up not only with a dissolution, but with them facing up to each other in court. But that, sadly, and quite excitingly and quite bitterly, is next time.